after Layla, Sophie's 21-year-old daughter. Celia was just making small talk. She wasn't really interested in her niece, and hadn't seen Layla since she was a child of 11, with sticky-out front teeth, long since straightened, and ginger hair, currently dyed pink. They probably wouldn't even recognise each other now. "She's fine," Sophie replied, still staring out of the window. She wasn't going to pander to her sister. "Really well." "Good," said Celia, before falling silent again. Soon they were heading down Flatbush Avenue prior to crossing the giant steel bridge connecting mainland Queens to the Rockaway Peninsula. This was a thin strip of land rimmed by golden beaches, with long fingers stretching far out into the roaring Atlantic Ocean. Once they left the bridge and entered the peninsula itself, the scenery changed from a broad, multi-lane highway, where the car was most definitely king, to much narrower avenues with cycle lanes and sidewalks and timber-clad houses of different shapes and sizes. Tanned folk in colourful shorts and T-shirts were out and about, walking their dogs or chatting lazily on street corners. There was a laid-back, seaside feel, and even in the air-conditioned car, Sophie could sense herself breathe more easily, as if the very atmosphere were lighter here. Her head turned this way and that as she stared eagerly at the green parkland on one side and then the homes with their patches of small front garden on the other. For a few minutes she almost forgot about Celia. The place felt familiar, yet strange too, as if she'd known it in a different life. She supposed it was different then, seen through her child's eyes, when she still fizzed with wonder and excitement. Now, with her middle-aged vision, she noticed not just the bright colours of people's clothes and the blue sky overhead, but also the weeds sprouting through pavestones and the odd broken fence and overflowing garbage bin. Had the place always had its grungy side? She supposed so, but back then she'd thought it quite perfect. The vibe changed again as the taxi rounded the corner into a wide, tree-lined street, flanked by grand, detached houses with front porches, pillars, and fancy gable roofs. Sophie wound down the window and stuck out her head, wanting to take it all in. "Be careful, lady," barked the driver in a New York accent. He hadn't smiled once on the journey. "You could get yourself killed." There was no danger of that, but she drew back in just a little to appease him. They were in a cul-de-sac. At the very end, a grey concrete sea wall with an opening in the middle protected residents from the beach and the ocean. Here, Sophie could detect no hint of dirt or decay. Lawns were deep green and carefully trimmed, while garden borders were filled with thick seagrass, lusty-looking Montauk daisies, and blousy pink, purple, or blue hydrangeas. Sprinklers made a comforting tss-tss sound as they squirted out bubbled jets of crystal-clear water, and American flags hung proudly on poles outside front doors, or suspended from attic windows. On every driveway, swanky cars glittered in the sunshine. A shiny Cadillac here, a convertible Porsche or Chevrolet there, and sometimes a humdrum Honda, probably belonging to a child or housekeeper. A grassy island in the middle of the road divided the traffic, but there was none today. In fact, hardly anyone was about, just a few workmen in back-to-front baseball caps and dirty white vests clinging to their bodies with sweat. They were mixing concrete on the pavement and dumping it in buckets, ready to carry it through an open side gate into the backyard. When they were about 2/3 of the way along the road, Sophie let out a whoop. She couldn't help it. "It's there! Look! Piping Plover House! Oh my God, it's exactly as I remember it!" Leaning out further, with her elbows resting on the window ledge, she spotted a tall, imposing house at the very end of the left-hand row. It was set just a few metres back from the sea wall, beyond which were the golden beach and glinting ocean. The house was painted dove grey, with white gables and window frames. It also had a grassy garden sloping down to meet the scorched pavement.